So I'm on the beautiful island of Paxos, visiting with my sister and family who Sandy's turned 60. And I just love it. It's just, we've met some of the most beautiful people, one of whom is this adoring man here, Rupert Boyd, who stopped to offer to take our photo for us the other day. And we got chatting, and he had a horse story. And I just thought it would be really interesting to hear his story because it's quite fascinating. And so I'll hand over to Rupert. Thank you, Rupert, so much
Pleasure.
for agreeing.
Pleasure.
It's so beautiful, and we have a beautiful view out here.
We do.
But yeah, so we just started chatting, and
Yes.
you told me an incredible story.
I have to say, I'm not sure how we moved from taking photographs to a horse story. I think because you said you made horse videos or something. So
I think I might have
something
told
like
about
that.
the documentary.
It's a story just that I grew up with, just about what my grandmother did during the First World War, and it spurred some interest. I did a little bit of research and found out a little bit more about it, and it's just an interesting vignette on a number of different levels. Primarily the animals and their suffering, but anyway. So the story is simply that in the First World War, obviously this was pre-mechanization, so there were horses in particular, and mules were used extensively, both as chargers, but also as transport animals, pulling things. And they were the main means of transport. And I mean, it's pretty horrifying to know that in the First World War, that they're estimated to have been 8 million horses and mules, about 6 million horses and 2 million mules died in the First World War. And that's a pretty shocking number. And of course, they primarily in the trenches, but they died from disease, they died from wounds, all sorts of things. But they also suffered, the survivors suffered, sort of PTSD and had all sorts of behavioural issues. And so the government set up these centres, these depots, where these horses would be attempts would be made to try and rehabilitate those horses who had developed behavioural disorders. And my grandmother was a young schoolgirl, just left school. She was very horsey, and she was enrolled and worked in a place called Russley Park, which was founded by a woman, Lady Anne Blunt, who herself was an interesting woman. She was the granddaughter of Lord Byron, who had fought for Greek independence and was an important poet and historical figure. Her mother was, interestingly, Ada Lovelace, who, great name, but she was one of the first computer programmers and worked with Charles Babbage and developed early computer algorithms. So she was an interesting woman. Her daughter, Anne Blunt, who founded Russley Park in the war, was also a very serious horsewoman, and in fact, single-handedly was responsible for the rescuing the Arabian bloodline. So she, the Arabian bloodline had almost died out, and she traveled extensively in the Middle East, which for a woman in the late 19th century was an amazing thing to do. And she purebred Arabians and pretty much rescued the breed. So that's a different story. But Russley Park, these centres were set up. Russley Park was a famous one because it was staffed entirely by women, by these young girls, and set up by Anne Blunt. And they would try and take these poor, shattered horses and try and give them a chance to be rehabilitated. And each of the girls was given, I think, 3 horses to look after, which they did everything. They, mucked out, they cleaned them, groomed them, and nurtured them, and gave them compassion, and tried to rehabilitate them. And And that was it, really. I don't know how great their success rate was, but it was really last chance saloon for these poor horses that came back from France all shattered.
And such kindness, you know, like I always think with my horses, I want them to like me, and so you get their
Yes.
trust, and to try to rehabilitate them after what they've been through. And
Yes.
and then you were telling us about a beautiful memorial
Yes.
in Park Lane.
Yes.
Could you tell us a little bit
Well,
about
that's just a memorial. I'm not sure when it was built, but it's you know, we have war memorials all over the country, so I'm sure there are in Australia too, to remember those that didn't come home. But rarely do you find animal ones, and there's a beautiful animal memorial in Park Lane, which is to all the animals who died in war, and it's a big memorial, and it's just, there's a little engraving on the bottom that just says they had no choice, which again brings it starkly home that it, you know, they served and it certainly didn't, wasn't their choice. But yes, it's rather nice. I used to walk past it every morning as I walked to work. It's a very beautiful sort of memorial, really.
I read somewhere about that. I think it cost £2 million. So,
Is that right?
Yeah. And it was funded almost entirely.
I think it was
by the
private.
public.
Yeah, I think it was private donations.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
We're a nation of animal lovers.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, I think Australians
Yeah,
are too.
I'm sure they are. Yeah.
Thank you, Rupert. Thank
That's
you so
pleasure.
much.
Yeah.
It's been lovely to meet you. And I, as I said before, I just love Paxos. So we've only been here a few days, and I feel like I'm already part of the community. And
You're a
we know
Paxos.
people, and it's
Yeah.
just, and I
Yeah.
so want to come back. It's
Well,
just
I'm sure you
so
will.
beautiful. Lovely.
I'm sure you will.
I'll come and visit you.
You will. Good.